Ellie's story begins long before she meets Joel. She entered the world during the early years of the outbreak, born into a world already shaped by fear, loss, and violent survival. Her mother, Anna, delivered her in an abandoned room with no medical support and only a friend helping her. Anna died shortly after childbirth, leaving Ellie completely alone. This moment shaped her future more than she understood. She carried an unusual immunity within her body from the moment she took her first breath. It did not protect her from the world's cruelty, only from the infection that destroyed modern civilization. Marlene, the leader of the Fireflies, took responsibility for Ellie. She promised Anna she would protect the child, even though the Fireflies struggled to survive. Ellie grew up in a military school inside the Boston quarantine zone, raised under strict conditions. She fought often, struggled with authority, and felt isolated. Her only real friend was Riley, a girl who understood her need for freedom and adventure. Their friendship brought light into Ellie's lonely life, until their final night together ended with a heartbreaking bite that killed Riley and revealed Ellie's immunity. This discovery changed her path forever. When Ellie met Joel, she did not trust him. He acted hardened, distant, and focused only on completing the job of escorting her to the Fireflies. Their early journey felt forced, shaped by survival rather than connection. They crossed ruined cities, faced dangerous groups, and pushed through areas filled with infected. Over time, they grew close. Joel saw Ellie as more than cargo, and Ellie saw him as the closest thing to family she had ever known. Their bond became the emotional center of the story. Ellie learned skills from Joel, and Joel found purpose in keeping her alive. This connection reached its most intense point during the winter section, when Joel lay injured and Ellie hunted alone to keep him alive. She fought David, survived captivity, and killed to defend herself. These events hardened her and marked the beginning of her transformation into a survivor who would do anything to protect the people she cared about. When they reached the Fireflies, Ellie lost consciousness before learning the truth. Joel discovered that their plan required her death. He refused to lose her. His rampage through the hospital ended the Firefly operation and reshaped Ellie's future. He saved her life, but he also removed her chance to give meaning to her immunity. When Ellie woke, Joel lied and removed the choice from her hands. This lie shaped their entire relationship from that moment forward. Ellie felt the weight of Joel's lie even though she did not know the details. She wanted purpose and she wanted the truth, but she also wanted Joel. Their life in Jackson brought temporary peace. Ellie trained, helped the community, and tried to settle into a stable life, yet the distance between her and Joel grew. She struggled with his protectiveness and sensed he hid something. Later, she learned the truth in a direct confrontation. Joel admitted what happened in the hospital. His confession hurt her deeply. She felt that he stole her chance to help the world. She felt anger, betrayal, confusion, and sorrow. Their relationship did not heal immediately. She pulled away from him emotionally, but the bond never fully broke. They shared moments of connection that hinted at forgiveness in the future. Ellie expected to face that conversation again, but she never received the chance. When a group led by Abby entered Jackson and killed Joel, Ellie lost him before resolving their broken relationship. His death became the defining moment of the second game and reshaped her life in a new direction built on revenge. Ellie's journey across Seattle followed a clear goal. She wanted justice for Joel. She traveled with Dina, fought through hostile factions, and confronted horrors that surpassed anything she faced during her time with Joel. Her mission consumed her. Each step pushed her further away from the community she loved. She hurt others, lost friends, and destroyed pieces of herself. Ellie faced Abby several times during this search. Their first encounter ended with Ellie nearly dying. The cost of her revenge continued to grow. She killed members of Abby's group without knowing their backgrounds or motivations. Each life she took pushed her deeper into grief and obsession. The more she killed, the more she realized how far she drifted from the girl Joel protected. Seattle changed her in ways she did not expect. Trauma grew with each violent moment. The world no longer felt like a place where purpose existed. Only the mission remained. Ellie eventually confronted Abby on the beach near the end of the second game. At first, she planned to finish what she started. Her anger pushed her forward. She forced Abby to fight, even though Abby was weak and near death after months of suffering. During this final struggle, Ellie almost completed her revenge. She held Abby underwater, but Joel's memory stopped her. She saw him not in anger, but in one of their final moments, when he played guitar and showed her gentle affection. This memory broke her rage. She released Abby and ended her quest for revenge. In that moment, Ellie realized that killing Abby would not heal her. It would not bring Joel back. It would only destroy whatever remained of herself. After leaving the beach, Ellie tried to return to something normal. She came back to the farmhouse she shared with Dina, hoping to rebuild a life. Instead, she found the home empty. Dina left, taking the child with her. Ellie faced the consequences of her choices. Her obsession cost her the people she loved. She tried playing Joel's guitar, but the missing fingers on her hand kept her from recreating the sound he taught her. This simple moment reflected the larger truth. She lost pieces of herself that she could never recover. The guitar symbolized their bond, and her inability to play it showed how far she had fallen from the life they shared. Ellie's story does not end in despair, though. Her decision on the beach showed she still held the ability to choose a new direction. She walked away from the farmhouse with a quiet sense of acceptance. She could not undo the past, but she could shape the future. Her journey through both games turned her from a lost child into a hardened survivor who carried deep emotional scars, yet she remained capable of growth. The path she took left her with painful memories, but she gained a deeper understanding of herself. Her immunity, once seen as her only defining trait, no longer shaped her purpose. She now carried the potential to create a new life free from the weight of revenge and the shadow of Joel's lie. Ellie's story stands as one of the most powerful character arcs in modern games. She began her life alone. She gained a father figure, lost him, destroyed herself trying to avenge him, and reached a point where she could finally choose peace. Her pain shaped her, but her choice at the end showed strength beyond violence. She walked into the unknown with no clear plan, but with room to grow. If the series continues, her next chapter will likely focus on rebuilding identity, facing the world without Joel, and understanding what her immunity means on a personal level rather than a global one. Ellie's future begins at the moment she walks away from the empty farmhouse. She leaves behind the last physical piece of her life with Joel, and she leaves behind the life she tried to build with Dina. That final walk says more than dialogue ever could. She understands she reached the end of a path shaped by grief, guilt, and revenge. She also understands she must build a new identity. Her story has always centered on loss, survival, and the search for meaning, but now she reaches a point where she can choose her own direction without the weight of someone else's plan. This choice gives her future more potential than any moment she has faced so far. She has no supplies, no community behind her, and no clear destination. Yet she has the freedom to decide who she will become next. This freedom acts as the foundation for everything that might follow. One possible direction for Ellie's future involves seeking Dina again. Ellie might believe she has no right to return, but her emotional bond with Dina remains strong. She lost her out of obsession, not lack of care. Ellie might reach a point where she wants to rebuild trust. This would not be simple. Dina would have every reason to doubt her. Ellie hurt her through silence and through choices that brought risk to the child. Even so, Ellie's growth could lead her to search for forgiveness. This path would give her a chance to step away from violence and attempt a new form of life. She would need to prove she can be stable, dependable, and patient. Her future with Dina would not revolve around romance alone. It would revolve around responsibility, maturity, and understanding that she no longer must fight every battle with violence. If she chooses this route, her story becomes one about rebuilding rather than destroying. Another direction involves Ellie traveling beyond the territories she has known. Jackson, Seattle, and the farmhouse represent fragments of the past she must leave behind. She grew up inside walls, then traveled across the country under Joel's protection, then hunted Abby across a ruined city. Her experiences formed a narrow understanding of the world. In the future, she may want to learn what remains beyond those places. She has immunity and survival experience. She has knowledge of infected behavior that few others possess. She might search for groups that study the infection or communities that operate with strong structure. She might try to understand why her immunity formed, even if there is no cure to pursue. Her future could revolve around knowledge rather than warfare. She could become a traveler who documents infected patterns, records stories of survivors, or warns settlements about new dangers. Her identity might shift from Avenger to Guardian. There is also the possibility that Ellie returns to the Firefly concept, not because she believes in the old group, but because she wants answers about her immunity. This does not mean she would look for a cure. Rather, she might want to understand the science behind her condition. Her entire life carried a sense of purpose she never fulfilled. She may want closure. She could seek researchers or remnants of Firefly communities that still look for medical understanding. This would place her in environments where her immunity becomes important again, not as a sacrifice, but as a subject to study. This path would force Ellie to confront the lie that shaped her relationship with Joel. She would need to accept that her immunity might never change the world. Even so, learning the truth might give her emotional peace. Her journey could shift into exploration rather than destruction. Ellie might also take a darker path. She has lost pieces of herself through violence and trauma. Her nightmares, guilt, and intrusive memories remain unresolved. She left the farmhouse with emotional wounds that still bled. If she cannot cope in a healthy way, she might isolate herself in remote areas, avoiding communities and trying to live apart from society. This version of her future would reflect her fear of hurting others again. It would reflect the belief that she deserves to be alone. She might hunt, travel, and survive in the wilderness with no long-term goals. This path would not last forever, because loneliness eventually forces internal confrontation. She would either collapse emotionally or find strength through introspection. Either outcome would shape her next chapter. She might understand her need for connection and decide to rejoin humanity at a later point, or she might break under the weight of her past. Another possible future for Ellie involves mentoring someone younger. She grew under Joel's guidance. She saw the best and worst sides of him. She learned survival, moral complexity, and resilience. Ellie could eventually reach a point where she passes those lessons on. A young survivor might look to her for support. She would face the choice of repeating Joel's mistakes or growing beyond them. Teaching someone else would force her to confront her trauma from a new angle. She would need to model restraint, patience, and empathy. This direction would allow her to reclaim pieces of herself she thought were lost. Guiding another person might give her a sense of purpose she never achieved through revenge. It would also show how far she has come from the girl who once felt powerless in the Boston quarantine zone. Ellie's future might also connect to Abby whether she wants it or not. Their lives became intertwined through violence, loss, and shared suffering. If their paths cross again, the meeting would not center on hatred. Both characters ended their arcs at points of emotional exhaustion and self-reflection. Ellie spared Abby. Abby spared Ellie earlier in the story. Their conflict reached an endpoint through mutual survival. A future meeting might involve acknowledgement, closure, or even cooperation in a crisis. Neither one needs to become a friend or ally, but seeing each other again might force them to accept how much the past shaped them. Their shared trauma could transform into mutual understanding. This would not erase the pain, but it could give both characters a deeper sense of direction. Ellie's future will also depend on how she handles her trauma. She carries guilt over Joel's death, guilt over hurting Dina, guilt over killing Abby's friends, and guilt over surviving when so many others died. These emotions could break her or reshape her. Healing would require honest reflection. She might seek guidance from new communities. Or she might work through her pain alone. Her growth will depend on whether she accepts that she deserves life beyond suffering. Ellie's future cannot move forward until she accepts that she is more than the violence she committed. The moment on the beach shows that this acceptance has already begun. It marks the start of a long process that will continue through every step she takes after leaving the farmhouse. In any possible future, Ellie must decide what her immunity means to her. It once represented duty. It later represented pressure. For a long time, it represented the reason Joel died. Now she must redefine what it means. Her immunity sets her apart from every other surviving human. She could treat it as a burden or as a tool. She could use her immunity to explore infected zones without fear. She could offer guidance to researchers or protect groups that fear infection. She could use her knowledge to help communities prepare for outbreaks. Her immunity does not need to define her story, but it can give her a path. For the first time, she holds full control over how it shapes her future. Ellie's story remains open because she still has room to grow. Her journey across 2 games shows constant evolution. She began as a lonely child. She became a skilled survivor. She became a person shaped by grief and vengeance. Now she stands at the edge of a new chapter filled with unknown possibilities. Whether she chooses love, isolation, exploration, mentorship, or healing, Ellie's future carries depth and potential that no past chapter held. Her journey will always carry pain, but it will also carry the chance to build a life that belongs to her alone.